AEA staff support some of the best work happening in school buildings all over the state. We're going to take our listeners on the road into these buildings and talk to AEA and district staff about partnerships making a difference for kids. On this week's episode, I hit the road to Alburnett, Iowa during their homecoming parade. This display of team spirit got me thinking a lot about how important all team members are to a functioning organization. I met with Danny Trimble, superintendent of Alburnett Community School District, to discuss some of our lesser-known AEA services. Danny, this is the first year where you've had Grant Wood AEA do your outsourced tech services. What brought you to that decision or this place?
Well, it was out of necessity. When the tickets get really deep, Sean has the ability to bring in other people, or when we were inundated with all the new machines, you were able to use Grant Wood staff. I reached out to Jason Marshall, who had reached out to me previously, just wanting to be sure we knew of the service, and it just really flew from there.
Our team brings technological expertise with software, network support, device setup, and more to help our schools achieve success in the modern educational environment. Fully managed technology services are scalable and provide each district with remote and on-site services. And so, Sean, you came on in August, and so what was the onboarding like? You know, we talked earlier about they kind of tried to drown you like figuratively with learning the system, but what was the first couple of weeks like?
It was, initially a very daunting task. There was a lot of stuff that needed to be gone through. We had to set priorities on what needed to happen before school started. We did a handoff with the previous tech. We went through, did a huge cleanup of the existing hardware. We identified what needed to be ordered. Understanding their domain setup, their Google setup, everything like that. Brandon and John have been here helping me with the network side of things and the server side of things, so I can actually focus on end client devices.
Danny, has it been a fairly seamless transition, or how did it go?
Yes, if you step back and look at the big picture, it absolutely was seamless. What I've been most impressed with is the team atmosphere around getting things done.
Alburnett is a one-to-one district, which means they provide each student and teacher with a laptop or tablet. They've also recently seen a decent amount of growth in enrollment and staffing. To keep up with all these new devices, they needed additional tech support. I asked how Sean and the rest of our IT staff helped support the district during this growth period.
It was a big job because anytime you bring some new expertise in, they bring fresh eyes, new perspective, and they uncovered some things that we were making work, but there's just a better way to do it, perhaps.
Sean, what's your favorite thing about working out in the district or districts in general?
There's a lot of students, a lot of staff here, but it feels cozy. The students say, "Hey, Sean, how's it going?" Yeah. So I'll have students come into the tech office with Chromebook issues, and generally I'll be able to fix it within 5-10 minutes.
Probably the interesting thing is probably very few people really know that you're a Grant Wood employee. Like the students, they probably all think you're an Alburnett employee. They're just part of that team, which is, I think, kind of a neat part of the program as well. So, Danny, I'll ask you the same question. You might have alluded to it. What's been your favorite part so far? You talked about team, but what's been the best part of the relationship so far?
It is that getting fresh eyes on our situation. We have some infrastructure things that need to be dealt with, time to upgrade things, and having different expertise weigh in on that and provide solutions that I would never be able to think of. I just don't have that expertise, and we know that the people making those recommendations are highly qualified, and so that's just very, very, very reassuring.
All right, so then are we heading to the elementary eventually? I'm happy to say our tech team was keeping Alburnett marching on. Danny and I strolled down the hall to the elementary school where we sat down with their principal, Josh Henriksen, who had some kind words to share about our creative services team. Grant Wood AEA Creative Services support districts and AEA staff with graphic design, printing and binding, laminating, and more. The print shop is even equipped with enough tech to produce large-scale wall clings, wayfinding signage, sensory paths, and window wraps.
From the very beginning, I work a lot with Eric Cleveland, and from the very beginning, it's hey Eric, this is what we want, this is what we're looking for, and then he'll come back, really relatively quickly with this is the idea, what do you think, and then we can he sends a couple different ideas, and then we can go back and forth on what we're thinking, and then he'll send a final product over and for approval, and so it's been a really good partnership.
How have you found the design aspect of it? The speed of it, the interactions with the designers, how has that worked for Alburnett?
Speaking specifically about our newsletter, we have a very kind of routine now with Grant Wood staff and how we submit the content of our newsletter every month, and then they'll send back a proof. They do all of the design. We provide only content, and again, it carries that branding throughout. So the newsletter is on more of a cycle, but when we come up with our we need this new piece that we want, like we just had some things put on the office doors here, and we can just send it off in an email, and usually within a couple hours, if it works into their workflow, we have a proof back, and then it just shows up on the van the next time it comes. So it's very timely.
And it probably helps once they do multiple things for you to sort of know your logo, the layout, how it interacts with other things. So probably the more they work with you, the easier it is for them to design things for you. Our creative services team has helped support Alburnett in so many ways. I asked these two what stood out most about working with our staff.
The cool thing for me is, even in the busy times, which I'm assuming is the beginning of the school year for them too, it's here's my design, I'll hear back from somebody right away, give me a day or so at the most. And again, if there's a piece of it that we may not like or whatever, it's easy to go back and forth and say, hey, what about this? Or I don't really, that doesn't really fit. And then they, boom, right away, it's something back again to us. And so it's just been a great process.
Maybe it was because I had homecoming on my mind again, but I couldn't help but think about how good design and branding can help strengthen the sense of community in a school district. I asked how our products had impacted school spirit.
The use of the purple on purpose is very much a part of not just how we portray ourselves from school, but our community embraces that. Like on the newsletter, when they see the emblem purple on purpose, it feels like not a school product, but an our product. And the staff we work with at Grant Wood on design seems to understand that.
What about in your hallways and classrooms? Do you think some of the things that we've been able to produce for you have helped you build community within classrooms and in your elementary?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is there's continuity no matter where you go in the building, whether it's the classroom, the hallways, the lunchroom, with those expectations, which we feel are really important to have some very similar expectations in each area, but that continuity of color choice and purple on purpose and the pirate head and then the messaging, it kind of carries through from classroom level to hallway to bathrooms to anywhere you go in the building.
In a way, creative services are basically the cheerleaders of the Grant Wood AEA team. I was curious what kind of reaction they've seen from their students.
When we started to be more intentional with branding, now even 5, 6 or more years ago, the response from students is surprising. What they notice, you just could hear it in their reaction that they really care. And we don't maybe remember that color choice and the visuals of their day really matter to them.
Just like a well-practiced football team, I could see Grant Wood AEA's creative services and IT support were scoring major points at Alburnett. I had just one additional question to ask Danny. Who's winning the homecoming football game tonight?
Well, of course, the Alburnett Pirates are going to win tonight.
Although we recorded this before the big game, Danny ended up being right. Alburnett won 52-7. All members of their football team make a difference, just like all members of Team Grant Wood AEA. And I'm happy to say we've got a winning team here at the agency. I'm John Speer, and we've been on the road at Alburnett with Danny, Sean, and Josh.